Well, if this is Black Mirror, I quite like the episode we're in. Thank you so much, Brian. It was fascinating to think through all the interesting design problems that emerge when technology enters the physical world.
Up next, we're staying in the physical world, actually, but moving from robots to the runway. Danit Peleg is here to tell us about how 3D printing, AI, and new materials are changing what it means to design fashion. So please give a warm welcome to Danit.
Most of you here build digital products. You live in a world where you can iterate on an idea, hit save, and ship digital updates to millions of people in seconds. But I live in a world where shipping still involves very slow iterations, warehouses, and thousands of tons of waste. For years, I've been trying to bridge that gap. I wanted fashion to have the same efficiency, the same elegance as software. So during my fashion design study, I started experimenting with a radical idea. What if we stopped sewing and started printing? For my final year at fashion school, I decided to find out. The problem was that I barely knew anything about 3D printing, and I had only 9 months to figure out how to print 5 fashionable looks. I found a small makerspace where I taught myself everything I know about using this technology to print textiles. I couldn't find any information about it online, and I couldn't understand why no one else took that technology that was already out there and used it to print fabrics. To speed up the process, I just brought 6 printers to my home, and I was just printing 24/7. It meant literally waking up in the middle of the night to replace the prints and change the filaments. It worked. And I made a workflow to 3D print garments. I use flexible structures with soft materials that are soft and wearable and durable. And without planning it, I ended up printing the world's first 3D printed fashion collection right from desktop 3D printers. I made it to the school runway show, and I posted about it on social media. I was amazed by the potential power of using this technology. And almost overnight, this story went viral with hundreds of press stories and requests for interviews from tech, fashion, and from finance. I started traveling the world to teach about this idea. During my studies, I learned that if I share my ideas and tell everyone what I'm trying to make, there are very low chances that people will copy me. Instead, I learned that people are really happy to help me to make my vision a reality. And sometimes us designers, we're so scared to be copied, and we keep our ideas and thoughts locked in drawers. And many times, great ideas and projects never get to fulfill their potential. But instead, I started teaching. I created my online course, teaching how to start your journey with 3D printed fashion. And I talked about the potential with whoever wanted to hear about it. 3 months after my graduation runway show, Ted invited me to present my idea at the Science Museum in New York, and that was the first time I was ever on stage to give a public speaking. I became an expert in my field and a TED speaker just by sharing my knowledge. That was a great learning. So a few weeks after, I got an email saying that I was invited to design a dress for the opening ceremony of the Paralympic Games in Rio, simply because my work was visible. And the opportunity for a young designer like me was really unbelievable. Showing my dress at such a mainstream event in front of hundreds of thousands of people was incredible. But working on this dress was challenging. I had only 6 months to bring it on stage, and since the event was in Brazil and the dancer was based in the US, we all had to communicate how the dress is going to look like remotely. The first time we met was on the final rehearsal on stage. And so it was challenging, but also proved me the power of using this technique. I sent the dancer a link to an app. She was taking 2 photos of herself, and I got all of her measurements. I then loaded them into my CAD software, and I was able to create and customize the dress so it fit her like a glove without ever meeting her in person. When we met, I only had to shorten it up a little, and she was ready for her 6-minute beautiful dance with a robot partner. It really felt amazing that so many people saw a 3D printed dress in action on such a mainstream stage like the Olympics. So the next morning, our picture appeared in all of the biggest newspapers in Brazil. They talked about the dance and how the 3D printed dress moved on stage, and some of them thought it was actually a real fabric, which I found as a great compliment. So that really inspired me to go back to work and make more garments that look like ready-to-wear pieces using 3D printing materials. So I decided to extend that dress into a full fashion collection, and one of the items, this jacket, looked really cute with a pair of jeans. So I wanted to test this virtual fitting concept with more people. And so that made me think, why not to start selling these garments and see what is going to happen with it? So I started with these 3D printed jackets, and I just brought it to normal people. So the thought was, I'll print them from home, and I'll send it to the customers on demand. And so I built a page on my website where people were able to customize this jacket, choose the color of the textile, choose the color of the lining, even write their name in the back. And this lace-like bomber jacket was the first wearable 3D printed garment you can buy on the internet. So it was limited edition that I produced on demand. I printed and assembled each jacket by myself with zero waste and zero inventory. Every time I got an order, I just sent it to print, and then I shipped it. It was all the way from fashion collectors to fashion school that I've archived to luxury fashion brands that wanted to see what it's all about. So you probably know that fashion is one of the most polluting industries in the world. And except of empowering creativity, there are many benefits to 3D printable fashion as it relates to our environment. And it can be a real sustainable way to the way we produce and consume fashion, as well as make fashion really fun, personalized, and inclusive. And all of these experiences really showed me that if we can take this innovation and make it scale with the right materials, we could create a sustainable alternative to the way we produce and consume fashion. Let's talk really quickly about the potential I see in 3D printed fashion. So in today's fashion production system, around 15% of the fabric is wasted before a garment is even sewn, mainly during the cutting process. But with 3D printing, very limited waste is produced. When I print a garment, every part has a role, and every part is used, so there is no leftovers. This is not possible to achieve when you work with traditional fabrics. 3D printed clothes are on demand, so they can be done without any physical inventory. And oftentimes, big brands produce way too much styles and designs that are not successful, and they end up as waste under the ground, or even worse, burned. But 3D printed clothes are literally on demand, so there will be no inventory. And as I mentioned before, it is possible to customize every printed piece. So when you print clothes, they fit exactly to your body. And with digital clothing, we can actually see the digital simulation before we produce it. So customers can see them and try them on with AI. And I can actually text you a jacket, so you can print it on the other side of the world. So essentially, there will be less shipping costs. And finally, it is possible to recycle them, shred the clothes, and print new textiles. Today, only 1% of our clothes are recycled. But with 3D printing, it may be possible to recycle most of the materials. One of the key questions I get from the brands I'm working with is, how do we scale this vision? And today, we fully understand the power of AI and robotics that can automate 3D printing farms. And that way, we can build a factory that works 24/7, nonstop. Here, for example, we were able to print this lace, like the one I'm wearing today, for 200 skirts in just 24 hours. But let's go back to the story. So at some point, I started my journey to find more sophisticated and efficient, larger printer than the one I used until then. This one, for example, can print a long piece of fabrics, but I was not very happy with the quality of the prints. So I wanted to build the printer of my dream. Super speed technology with large bed that printing very, very soft materials. I finally find the right team in Croatia to build my printer. We got funding from the program Horizon for Innovation in the EU. And after only a year and a half, we built the best printer for printing textiles. It's probably the only technology available that printing 4 sections at the same time, and we made it to look seamless between the segments of the fabric, so we can print a large piece of fabric in one go, and it also allows us to send to print remotely to local manufacturer. But still, it is so expensive to produce these printers. And so I started looking for more cheaper ideas, and I found this printer that has a huge plate and create amazing quality prints. They sent me this printer to test, and I was just amazed, because almost 1 meter by 1 meter, I can print literally a full-size dress, and I started printing looks literally overnight after assembling this printer. And now I'm working on opening my own micro-manufacturing. I want to do it locally and with a scalable technology and automated processes. Here, for example, is another example of how I automate fashion design. So this top that I'm wearing in this photo was designed and printed using only ChatGPT and a 3D printer. 2 years ago, the producers of an upcoming documentary movie about Chuck Hall, the inventor of 3D printing, approached me about featuring my work. Their film showcases how 3D printing is transforming our world and will premiere this November, so stay tuned. And I wanted to wear something special to this movie. So I wanted to obviously wear something that is 3D printed, but also pushes the boundaries of this technology back in the day. So for the design process, I prompted ChatGPT, design an elegant camera-ready top for a TV appearance using my soft sheer 3D printed fabrics. And I was very surprised to see all these beautiful options that it gave me. So then I chose one option, and I asked it to use my measurements to create the pattern making of this top, and it worked. So that was so surprising. So that was really inspiring, and I learned that ChatGPT is able to do that and prepare me a top that fit exactly to my measurements, and then I can just upload the information to my CAD software, and I send it to print. And that's when I understand that AI is ready to unlock a new way of fashion designing. So I was like, OK, ChatGPT can do it. I think it's time for me to build the software of my dream, AI-powered system that can actually convert any sewing pattern into 3D printable textile code. Pattern making is a space that's really always been reserved for professionals. And even though I studied fashion design, I was still struggling to break into with automations and more innovative tools in this space. That was until I found Pattern Fest, which is the most efficient, user-friendly tool out there today, in my opinion. They're really democratizing pattern design in the best way. So I use it to make all of my new patterns for my garments, and I can easily put the measurements of the person I'm printing the dress for. And then I vibe-coded my dream software. It takes these pattern-making files and an image texture and turn it into these super soft, durable, wearable files for any 3D printer in seconds. It generates each garment part with no excess materials, so only what I need to print, and it's optimized to printing time and material use and quality. Then I can just place each piece on the printer bed or combine a few pieces into one print. The result is soft, flexible fabric at full garment scale, on demand, made for the specific printer I'm using, and the G-code is optimized to find the best balance between speed and quality, even when I'm working with these super soft materials. So I set up my own team of AI agents. I gave each one of them a different soul. One is my developer, helped me to build this software. One is focused on social media and content creation, and she definitely also helped me with building this presentation for today. And one works as my personal assistant. She helped me with everything around my life, flights, schedules, styling advice, video edits. She's even reminding me of people's names sometimes, and of course, preparing me for a background before some meetings. And then, he's here somewhere, recommended me to try Weave. They just launched and I was like, wow, this is super awesome. I can actually explain to the real human engineer that's still working with me what am I trying to make and how the dress is going to look like at the end of the road. So I'm using these cool fabrics that we developed with 3D printing. So in Weave, I only uploaded a picture of a fabric and a quick sketch that I made. And in a few minutes, I had both a 3D simulation of what the dress is going to look like and a walking model walking in an environment that I invented. So that was really like mind-blowing. And I wanted to ask Weave also to generate me new styles based on the aesthetics and the designs and the sketches that I'm already making. And of course, it worked. So I got 20 different styles in a few minutes. And then I thought, OK, can it also make me the pattern making of these styles? And guess what? It worked. And I got the pattern-making designs of how the garment should be made of. And of course, I got the 3D modeling. This is given. Some of the designs are all actually here. You can see the final result. So using Weave and my AI 3D printed textile generator, my vision to prompt to dress is almost complete. Now I can design any style, including bags, shoes, and any kind of fashion item in seconds, and then print them on demand, personalized and customized to any measurements. But there was one constant problem. There was no other way but using plastic. I was maybe solving this fun supply chain concept, but I was still forced to use bad materials. So that bothered me a lot. But one of the benefits of using this technology that it can offer is circularity. So I shifted completely, finding ways to use fashion production waste and turn them into these beautiful, soft 3D printed textiles. A huge luxury house sent me a whole bag of recycled shoe soles. That used to be very expensive shoe soles. And apparently, these decent fashion brands aren't always just throwing their waste into landfills. Instead, they actually pay rent and keep their trash into these warehouses around the world. I was shocked when I learned this fact, because for me, like, this is gold, basically. This is my raw material. So I started a new pilot, inviting brands to send me their fashion production waste. And with my friends at Ginger, I just dry these materials, and I send it directly to print using a pellet-based printer. The fabrics looks really amazing, and we were able to print a giant textile in less than 15 minutes. We got so excited, so we also started inviting textile manufacturing, like these guys, Pure Denim. They gave me their waste from the denim production factory. We took it and we mixed it with the shoe sole production waste, and we 3D printed denim fabrics. The novelty is how we designed the pellet architecture and the large, fast 3D printing process. And just like that, we invented a new kind of fashion category of innovative soft fabrics that are made from 100% recycled materials, but also can be recycled again and again. So zero virgin materials in the process. It was so fun, and the potential was great, even though the first attempt was not so perfect. The process is sometimes more valuable than the actual final result. So I immediately posted a video about it. I love building in public. So I think, like, sometimes when we share, sharing attracts better ideas. So when I shared the denim experiment, experts and engineers jumped in with insight I would never have gotten alone. It also a way for me to understand if there is product market fit, or what's the thoughts around my ideas and what's the trend. So for example, one of the comments that kept coming back, especially from the haters, was, OK, cool, you recycle cotton, but then it will go into landfill and it's not going to be cool anymore. They said you should use bio-based TPU instead of recycled TPU. So I was like, OK, I want to learn more about it. So I wanted to find out more, and I sent my agent to start looking for the best soft plastic alternatives. There are a few in the market, but they are not perfect, until my agent found Algenesis. Technically, this is TPU, but it is bio-based, made from algae, castor, and hemp oil instead of petroleum. The key difference is a peer-reviewed study showed zero microplastic remaining after composting within 220 days, where regular oil-based plastic doesn't break down at all. So it's a polymer that the nature and the ocean actually like. ColorFab, the world's leading 3D printing materials company, is working with me to turn these materials into filaments for 3D printing. So now my vision is almost complete. The process is super efficient and seamless, and now I'm ready to scale by turning this idea into a real production process, one that can actually be relevant for the fashion industry. And that's exactly what I'm focusing on these days. So the knowledge I gained on 3D printing with super soft textiles using my AI tools and structures that are only possible to achieve with 3D printing brought me to start working with major luxury innovation labs. And I think fashion artistic directors have a lot of impact and responsibility to bring innovation to the general public. So I'm very excited to use this luxury influential voice and to bring my vision to the world. And hopefully you will hear about it very soon. So that's my story. I hope you enjoy it. And yes, all the garments behind me, they're all made with these bio-based materials and designed with Weave and my own AI tools. I did post it about it, and luckily Weave saw it, and now I'm here standing on this stage telling you my story. And it's really always amazed me what places creativity and innovation can take us. So I'm so grateful to be here today. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see where this technology evolves, and stay in touch. Thank you so much. Thank you.